Uh, Good afternoon, Abhinav sir, and welcome everyone to yet one more session. Today is the fourth week of our AP webinar. I am pretty sure that you must have been having a great time utilizing the great resources from Abhinav Garg and the team. And so without any further delay, I would Abhinav sir, and welcome everyone to yet one more session. So without any further delay, I would like to hand over the session to the Abhinav sir. Before that, I would like to inform all the students, you can use the Q&A session at the bottom of your screen, and please feel free to post all of your queries. We would be really happy to answer all of them at the end of the session. Over to you, Abhinav sir, and warm greetings again.
Thank you, Harshul. Hi, everyone. Very good afternoon. Meeting you all after a very long time. I think I've had 3 weeks of absence from the webinar, so good to be back here, and good to be back here with the tricky subject that we call as chemistry. Okay, now, a couple of things before we start off. Chem AP, my standard recommendation is do not take it until and unless it's absolutely essential. It's one of the trickier APs, right? Trickier in the sense when I say it's a tricky AP, a few things have to be factored in. The first, the subject matter of study, as in the approach of study here, the way the questions would be framed is going to be very different from what the Indian education system students are accustomed to. So if you're doing a CBSE or an ISC, then you'll find yourselves in a very different turf over here. In general, if you're not studying Chem in your grade 11 and 12, standard advice, do not even think in terms of taking this AP. Right? It's one of the tougher APs. If you're studying Chem in grade 11 and 12, be very sure that other options are not going to work for you but for Chem. For example, if you can do a calculus, do calculus. You can do statistics, do statistics. Do physics. Physics mechanics is the easiest to score AP. Now, when it comes to Chem, the first thing that you need to know is, despite the fact that this 98% of the students who are taking this test would themselves be students of chemistry, still the percentage of students scoring a 5 on 5 is just about 10%. And the number of students scoring a 4 on 5 would be just about 15%, which means 3/4 of the students who take this test are going to eventually score a 3 or lower, which is not what you're looking at, I'm sure. So just be very cautious, very careful about if you want to take this test, and take it only if you have to take it, not otherwise, right? Everything would be very open to you. Take a physics, mechanics, which is a very simple AP, not the Chem one. So Chem, I'm assuming that you have a specific purpose, a specific reason in terms of taking this test. How much do you need to get a 5 on 5? Out of 100, you'll need about 72 to get a 5 out of 5. It sounds very simple, actually is not the case. And to get a 4 or higher, you'll need about 60 points. So get a 60 on 100, you get a 4, you get a 72, 73 on 100, you get a 5. That's how the evaluation here is placed. Okay. Having learned that, and keeping a target as a perfect, 5 to be scored, which means something like 75 points. What are the resources that I want you to use? The resources that I want you to use, number one, use Barron's. That's a very good book. Comprehensive, exhaustive. Use it for the theory, may not be for the tests. So for the tests, MCQs, you can get them from any book. Multiple books are available in the market. You have a Barron's, you have a Princeton, you have a Kaplan. You also have a book which is called 5 Steps to a 5 on AP Chem. That's a very good book here. Apart from that, you may also refer to the Cliff Notes. The Cliff Notes series also has a book on AP Chem, which would be extremely useful to all of you, but you cannot refer so many resources. Use one of these resources and use some practice material from the other books. In terms of practice material, there are 2 types of questions here, MCQs and free response questions. That is something you would have learned in the earlier AP semi-webinars, that All APs comprise of some kind of MCQs and some kind of free responses. So please know that the free response questions for the last 6 years, you'll find them on the AP website, along with sample responses, along with the marking scheme. Please make sure that you spend a lot of time in going through these, right? MCQs, you can pick them up from anywhere. They would be very, very repetitive, and they would be good quality MCQs, irrespective of the place that they're taken from. So much for your practice content, your resource materials. How much prep time to have with you? Have about 3 months. Have about 3 months, no less than that, right? Uh, Anything less than that is going to unnecessarily compress the things. And until and unless you're a naturally brilliant student of chemistry, especially IB, but if you are a brilliant IB chem student, why would you take this AP? So put time to your side before you start preparing for an AP Chem. Prepare for an AP Chem only if other AP options are not available. So I would say, in my opinion, Chem and Biology are the least recommended of the two APs. They involve the maximum amount of effort and the lower probability of getting a 4 on 5 or a 5 on 5 as compared to other APs, which is what you should be looking at, right? Okay, so with that, we move into and we take a look at the structure of the exam. There is some difference this time around because the test would be conducted in 3 iterations. I'm sure all of you know that. Iteration 1, iteration 2 for chemistry are take in school on paper, and iteration 3 in India is only take at home. Take at home, which is an online test. So we all need to understand, what is the difference. Also, the structure on the 2 tests is not entirely the same. There is a subtle difference over there. Why can I not open up my Chrome? Just give me one moment, guys. Yeah, there it is. So let me first of all start with this difference here between the 2 tests. Just give me one moment, guys. My Zoom seems to be getting stuck. I think there we are. Okay. So this is from the AP website only. So those are the exam dates. You have the exam on May 7th, that is 8 a.m. paper in school. Again on May 25th, which is the second administration, which is paper and in school. And then the third one is on June 10th, and this is 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Eastern Daylight Time, 12 p.m. would correspond to about 9:30 p.m. Indian time. And please bear in mind that the Chem AP would take you about 3.5 hours to complete. Right. So administration 1, administration 2, administration 3, which is online. Also, unlike most other APs for chemistry, the structure of the offline and the online test is not the same. There are subtle differences here. So on your left, what you see here is your traditional AP Chem. So if you take this test next year, only this one is going to be available. This one is an ad hoc measure created for this year, so as to create an additional test which is digital. So this one would be taken off a computer, right? Both of them would have a multiple choice section and a free response section, but the parameters, they differ slightly for the 2 of them. So on the multiple choice type, section 1 is identical on both of them. It will always be 60 questions. It will always be 90 minutes for both of them. And this is going to contribute 50% of the exam score. So even if, let's say, your 60 questions were 1 mark each, so that is 60 marks. This 60 marks would be converted to out of 50 affair when it comes to calculating your final score. So this would contribute 50 marks towards your final score. Remember, your target is to get something like a 73, 74 out of 100. Section 2 on the traditional AP Chem is a free response question where you're given 7 questions to be done in an hour and 45 minutes, and this also contributes 50% of the exam score, right? Of this, you have 3 long essay questions worth 10 points each. So this is 30 points. And 4 short essay questions worth 4 points each. This is another 16 questions. Marks. This totals up to 46. And this 46 marks also would be converted to a out of 50 affair by, proportionately upsizing it. And this contributes about 50% of your, total exam score. If we take a look at the specific difference for the digital test this year, my second section also would now not just have free response questions, it will have a mix of free response and MCQs. So on the MCQs, you'll have 40 questions, another 40 MCQs to be taken in 60 minutes. And then the free responses would only be 3, one for 10 points and 2 for 4 points each, the short one. So 1 long FRQ and 2 short FRQs. So this makes it 40 plus 18, 58 marks in all. And this will be downscaled to out of 50 marks and then added to your previous MCQ score so as to arrive at the net score out of 100. Where do you have a better chance of scoring more? Obviously, the digital test, because there, the bulk of your score is coming from the MCQs, which in any case are easier to score on as compared to the free response questions. One simple reason is that as Indian students, we are not very well versed with their marking schemes, what kind of detail they require, and these are some very, very particular things. We understand the question and answer theory that this is my question. There are 4 options. One of them is correct, 3 of them are incorrect, which I'll eventually be able to come around to, right? So we are not very comfortable with those subjective questions, also because of the way in which they would be marked, and they are very particular about marking it. There's a particular way. Now, when you join an AP course in the US, you're taught these ways through the program, through the prep. When you're prepping on your own, you may not be aware of quite a few of these things. For example, if you're doing unit conversion, you have not followed the correct process. Even if your conversion is correct, marks would be deducted. End of an answer, if I fail to mention the units, marks would be deducted. There are other things also here, which are very, very small things, which are so typical to a Chem AP that you need to know. So of course, if you refer a good text like a Barron, it will all be mentioned to you. There's not rocket science here, but all I'm trying to discourage you is because it is something typical. You cannot just, transpose your existing Chem knowledge to the current AP, go take the test walking and come out of it. It doesn't happen like that. All right, so that's how my AP exam looks for Chem. I need to now understand what is it that I'm tested for on the exam. So in all, there are some 9 units here. 8 of these 9 units have anywhere from 7 of these 9 units have 7 to 9% weightage. One of them is double weightage and one of them is 1.5 times the weightage. So let's quickly take a look at what is it that you're tested for on the Chem AP. It's something very simple. This would not really sound way off the mark for you. So atomic structure and properties, I'm sure all of you have studied, but the areas where they'll have a great focus in terms of setting out questions, you'll find lots of questions on spectroscopy, because see, these exams, they tend to go more with the empirical trends and empirical studies. Guys, just give me one moment. Just give me one moment. So sorry. Okay. Another area where you'll have multiple questions is periodic trends. Again, spectroscopy is the key from this particular unit that will have a lot of questions coming up your way. Molecular and ionic compound structure and properties. Again, Lewis diagrams, how they want you to draw it on the AP is a very, very peculiar way. So just about any Lewis diagram would not do. Where you got to mark a cross, where you got to mark a dot, you got to be very, very particular about these protocols. Then resonance and Whisper theory, bond hybridization, all of them would have something. This is by and large an easy unit. Also, this is one unit, where you would have studied to a much greater detail at your school. So would not really give you goosebumps. The first one, you need to work on the spectroscopy aspects of it, where there can be numericals, which you're quite unaware of, quite unfamiliar with. The third unit here is a double unit. It's a double unit, kinetic molecular theory of gases, phases of matter, states of matter, intermolecular forces of attraction. So stuff like van der Waals forces, stuff like dipole-dipole attraction, all these things, solutions and mixtures. Mixtures have lots of questions. And then of course, photoelectric effect, which is not really covered to a great depth in your school textbooks. And this is a double unit, mind you. So 18 to 22% of the total test is going to comprise of this unit only. Chemical reactions, again, you would be comfortable with. Equation balancing, net ionic equations is what they're normally interested in. Physical chemical changes, stoichiometry. Again, this would not give you a lot of difficulty. Kinetics, that's where a lot of questions come from. The collision model of reaction, the orientation model as you studied. Reaction mechanisms, again, is a slightly tricky topic. Rate law, of course, I mean, you can manage that. And role of a catalyst in a reaction. And the various theories, how catalysis happens. Thermodynamics is fun. Calorimetry would give you lots of questions. Heat of formation, enthalpy of a reaction, Hess's law of constant heat summation. Again, this is something you're pretty well versed with if you've done justice to your grade 11 chem. Please know that, most of your grade 12 chem is missing from here. So something like organic chemistry or an inorganic chemistry doesn't find much of a mention in this thing. Equilibrium, Kc is the key here. So you must know how to calculate Kc. There'll hardly be AP in chem that does not have multiple problems about the Kc, the equilibrium constant, and its variants, like the acid dissociation constant, like the solubility product. All these things you have to be very, very comfortable with. And of course, the Lee-Chatelier principle, pH and solubility, that's okay. Not too much. Acids and bases, again, contributes, it's a larger than a normal unit on chem. 11 to 15% of the exam score, pH and acid dissociation constant, buffer solutions, acids and bases. So though not a very large unit, but it'll normally give you lots of questions. Molecular structure of acids and bases, the various theory, your Bronsted-Lurey theory of acids, your Lewis acids, they might give you a certain reaction and they might ask you compound X behaves like a Lewis acid or a Bronsted-Lurey acid in this particular situation. On a free response question, you'll be required to come up with a decision and a justification for that decision. That is how this is going to be made. And last one, these two units fortunately were taken away from the syllabus last year, so they've been introduced again. This time, please know that between the physical test and the online test, there is no difference in syllabus. You got to have complete syllabus for both of them. Lots of questions on electrolysis and galvanic cells, electrolytic cells, Gibbs free energy, thermodynamics and kinetic control. These are considered to be slightly advanced topics. And what I've seen is that in most cases, the school tutors in grade 11 would normally not do justice to it. So that's where the challenge comes from on this particular thing. Right, so that's about the Chem AP. It's a highly technical AP, not unlike some of the APs which you can take on self-study. And again, if you've not been studying Chem, even if you hire a tutor to teach you Chem, it's difficult, in my opinion, to do really well on the Chem AP. It's a technical affair. And Indian board students, I'll very strongly discourage them from opting for Chem AP. So I think that's what I had to say. If you have any questions, please feel very free to shoot them my way.
Thanks a lot, sir. That was really a great session. Got to know much more about the AP chemistry. I could summarize first of all, only if in case it is required or you're prepared for it, the ones I'll go for. Got a good gist of the structure of the exam, the challenges, the resources, and as well as the syllabus. So that was really a superb session. Thank you, sir. I would like to moderate few questions, and also I would like to suggest students to ask if in case they have any queries in the chat box. So the first question is, sir, I am a student of class 10 and haven't read most of these things. So how shall I, prepare myself?
PKM until you have completed your grade 11. Don't even touch it.
Okay. So there is a strict disclaimer: don't even touch this APKM if in case you aren't yet in 11. Uh, but would there be any experimental questions involved in the FRQ section of the AP chemistry exam?
Lots of them, almost all of them,
Okay.
almost all of them.
Okay.
So it'll either be concept-based questions or it'll be questions which are based on a specific reaction or a specific phenomenon observed in laboratory. So it's going to be framed in a very different manner as compared to what you guys see for your school chem, which are pretty straight questions. They'll involve application of the concepts learned. They'll rarely be direct questions. Here, just take a look at the free response questions from the last few years on the College Board website. You'll get a very good idea.
Okay. So basically, it would be much conceptual based and application based, not just theoretical.
Absolutely.
So students are highly recommended to be much clear and lucid with the conceptual part. So
Yeah.
one more thing, like how exactly, if in case, so there is one question, a very pretty common question, I suppose, is JE harder than the APK?
They're slightly in different directions, but yes, if you're preparing for JEE, it will give you an advantage on AP Chem because even JEE Chem is a very good test. I mean, it's not like the typical school exams that you have.
Okay. So one more question. Would you recommend Khan Academy as a potential option to gain information for the topics if we cannot afford the books?
Yes, you can do that, but I mean, even if you don't afford the books, you spend some time Googling, you'll find soft copies of most books.
Okay.
It's not very difficult.
Uh, so any weightage of FRQ? I guess that was covered.
Weightage of FRQ is different for the online test and the offline test. For the paper pencil based test, the FRQ is 50%, the multiple choice type question is 50%. But for the digital test, in the FRQ section also they've inserted one MCQ because they find it is going to be difficult to administer the FRQs digitally. So they want to keep it to a minimum. So roughly you can say, 1/6 of the total uh, weightage in the digital test is FRQ, 5/6 is MCQ. I would always recommend a digital test.
Okay. So
Kindly
resource.
refer JD Lee. No, JD Lee would not be the appropriate. You'll need something which is concise, which is as per the AP curriculum. JD Lee is a vast book.
Okay. Uh,
I would always recommend take the test in the digital format if you're taking the AP this year for the Chem one, not for all other tests. These recommendations might change from test to test, but physics and Chem both I'll very strongly recommend that you take it only and only in digital format, not in the paper-based format. You'll have a serious disadvantage there.
okay. So I guess most of all the queries are being cleared, and I would recommend student everyone to stay tuned for the next session. If in
Three
case
o'clock.
if in case you have any queries, you can surely ping to Neeraj, to Abhinav sir and the team. They would love to help you out. And so, see you at the next session. For the yeah,
One more question there.
for you.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Okay, so it was really a good pleasure to have you here for one more time to get all our queries
Yes,
answered.
digital test will be only this year as of now. It's a makeshift arrangement to accommodate the COVID-19.
Mhm.
So until the COVID persists next year, the digital test you will not find them next year.
Okay. So thank you once again. Stay everyone. Please stay tuned for our 3 p.m. session that is on AP macroeconomics. So we'll get back to you.
Thank you everyone. And we've got two history sessions today, US history and European history in the afternoon. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a great day.